provide information to the tribunal. We're first going to play a video which documents a fact-finding mission of the Commission undertaken within the last week. So we'll play that, and after that, the Chairman will offer a brief statement and then take your questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for coming here.
They are nobody's people. Rohingyas are the most persecuted minority, fleeing from their ancestral land from Myanmar to Bangladesh. Millions have crossed the border through the forest, hill and muddy trails. They are fleeing across the river and surging sea to save their lives from military attack and bullet.
Myanmar military has set the villages of these Rohingyas on fire and forced them to leave their own country. Most of them have lost everything. They now only possess horrifying stories with feelings of anxiety. Children are beheaded and women are raped. Thousands have been massacred. Through this ongoing massive influx, more than 240,000 children are at great risk. The situation is catastrophic. Located in the western Rakhine state of Myanmar, Rohingyas are the most vulnerable section of the population. About 1.3 million Rohingyas live in Myanmar and estimated 1 million overseas. Earlier this year in February, the NHRC Bangladesh visited 3 refugee camps in Kachins to investigate the effect of the mass Rohingyas relocation and their human rights condition. In both the visits, NHRC talked with the Rohingya women, children, elderly people, and the INGOs and development partners working there.
সন্তানের সামনে বাবাকে মারা হয়েছে, স্ত্রীর সামনে স্বামীকে হত্যা করা হয়েছে। তাদেরকে কোনো রকমে রোহিঙ্গা হিসেবে তারা স্বীকার করতে রাজি না, তাদের জাতিকে স্বীকার করতে রাজি না। অথচ এরা 1985 সালে নির্বাচন করেছে, নির্বাচনে ভোট দিয়েছে।
বৃদ্ধা মহিলা তার স্বামীকে যে খুন করেছে, খুন তো গুলি দিয়ে করে নাই, গ্রেনেড দিয়েও করে নাই, তাকে বাড়ির মধ্যে বেঁধে রেখে বাড়িটা জ্বালিয়ে দিয়েছে।
The chairman of the National Human Rights Commission Bangladesh, Qazi Riazul Haq, during his second fact-finding mission to the Rohingya refugee camps from 9 to 11 September, termed this cruel military operation as an act of genocide and demanded for the implementations of the recommendations made by the Kofi Annan Commission, which was duly handed over to the Myanmar government on 24th August. They walked around to find out the living conditions and the health condition of the Rohingya refugees. The UN Human Rights Commission has termed this atrocity committed by the Myanmar military as a textbook case of
members of the Permanent People's Tribunal, civil societies, organizations working for human rights, and the representatives of the persecuted Rohingyas. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to convey my thanks and gratitude to the Tribunal for organizing such an important event and also allowing me to present a video documentary which we during our which we did during our fact-finding missions on several occasions. Some of this you have already seen, and you might have seen that the statement made by the persecuted people who came this time in this August influx, or even the 2016, or even earlier than that, since it started from 1978. So, we tried to bring this barbaric torture, this firing, and killing, and all these things, this crime against humanity before the global community, and that was the objective of this fact-finding mission, and that is what we did. And the thing is, still we are trying to, we haven't completed our fact-finding, so we'll collect more information, and that will also be incorporated in our video clippings. So, right at this moment, I just want to bring some of the issues which we urgently need from our perspective. We think that it should be taken to the knowledge of the global community. So, ladies and gentlemen, we urge the government as well as the civil societies and other organizations in the country to come forward. And we have already seen that the government of Bangladesh has been kind enough to give shelter to 400,000 people who came during this influx. And prior to that, starting from 1978, there are another almost 400,000, there are 800,000 Rohingyas right at this moment in Bangladesh territory. And we are also apprehending that the news we could collect that another 200,000 people are also in the pipeline. So in all, there is a possibility of 1 million Rohingyas in Bangladesh territory in the shortest possible time. So Bangladesh government has a lot of problem. Bangladesh government has because it has got resource constraint, it has got land constraint. Despite all this problem, government has government is committed to extend all basic necessities, particularly all human rights, so that they can enjoy all human rights, and they can be given all basic necessities like shelter, clothing, housing, medical, all these things. So, and the unfortunate part is that this time the 400,000 people who came this time, more than 50%, according to UNICEF, it's almost 230,000, something like that. So only children. So the children are in a very vulnerable situation. So there are so many diseases, and the children also come so many injured, bullet injury, and burning in this condition. So appreciating the government role, we also appreciate the role of the international community, because we had the opportunity to meet some of the international communities, including UNHCR, IOM, and we shared our experiences. They also visited those places, we also visited those places, and we requested them to come forward. So we believe that right at this moment, what we need to do, we need to extend immediate support to these people who are in Bangladesh territory. And first of all, what we like to do that before that, we want to make a call to the Myanmar government to stop this atrocity, to stop this violence, to end this violence, because this cannot be tolerated. So this must be stopped as early as possible. Immediately this must be stopped. That is our first. So Commission strongly emphasizes and recommends that all forms of violence, including mental violence and use of disproportionate force on Rohingya, particularly use of violence on women, children and elderly, should immediately end. It is the unequivocal responsibility of the government of Myanmar to provide protection to Rohingyas living in Rakhine, regardless of their ethnicity or citizenship. So we also urge the Commission is also deeply concerned of the lack of access to provide humanitarian assistance to the people in Rakhine. The Commission strongly recommends that the key humanitarian principles, humanity, neutrality and impartiality as endorsed in the General Assembly Resolution 46/182 be upheld at all times, and that the government of Myanmar provide immediate uninterrupted access to deliver human rights aid to all affected during the crisis without any discrimination. And the next order you got to say that the immediate aid to manage influx of refugees. As you have heard that more than 400,000 Rohingya have fled Myanmar Rakhine State this time, escaping grave human rights violation and persecution. They have joined approximately another 400,000, as I told you earlier. Many living in official or makeshift camps. Bangladesh, being an overly populated country, does not have sufficient resources to provide for the basic needs to all Rohingyas currently seeking refuge in the territory. Thus, it is absolutely necessary that the International Committee take action to provide immediate support to ensure vital human needs such as clean drinking water, as I mentioned, food, clothing, basic health facilities. And the last, we want the permanent solution, permanent and durable solution. The Commission urges the United Nations and the International Committee to do everything possible to encourage the government of Myanmar to find a durable solution for the crisis. The durable solution must include the right to return as an integral part of the solution. The Commission emphasizes that all fundamental human rights of the Rohingyas should be upheld and respected during the process of resolving the current crisis and finding durable solution. The Commission has sent our call for action to many international, regional and local entities who is directly or indirectly has a stake in this crisis, including the UN agencies, AISA, OIC, ASEAN and other diplomatic missions operating in Dhaka. To follow up on our call for action, we have organized several discussions and we will be organizing many more in the future. We also hope to get in touch with the ASEAN Secretariat and ASEAN Intergovernmental Commission on Human Rights. We hope to do so perhaps in the next month. The Commission would emphasize that it is vital not to lose sight of this situation. Unfortunately, we know in the past the Rohingya crisis did not receive the attention of the global community consistently and continuously. We urge that this time it must be different. The level of atrocities faced by the Rohingya refugees is far too grave for the world community to ignore these issues. Ladies and gentlemen, the decision of government of Bangladesh to place humanity as an utmost priority is commendable. The Commission lauds the efforts thus so far taken by the government of Bangladesh and encourages it to continue its sincere endeavor in protecting and promoting human rights of the Rohingyas seeking refuge in Bangladesh, despite the fact that Bangladesh not being the party to the 1951 Convention, 1951 Convention on Refugees, 1954 Convention on the Status of Stateless Persons, and the 1960 Convention on the Reduction of Stateless, nor there is any national legislation guiding the protection of stateless persons. Taking this opportunity, the Commission would like to propose the following specific recommendations for its consideration. Commercial bilateral discussions with the government of Myanmar to emphasize and implement the responsibility of the state in upholding the rights of its inhabitants and ensuring their well-being. Cease disproportionate use of force and end human rights violations taking place in the state of Rakhine. Encourage impartial and independent investigations of serious human rights violations alleged to have been committed during the military operations by the state security forces of Myanmar. Address the citizenship issues affecting Rohingya in a transparent and inclusive manner. Find durable solution on the ongoing crisis, upholding the principles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Continue to provide temporary shelter facilities in designated places. And government has already designated 800 hectares of land for the last influx. Commence biometric registration of Rohingya living within the territory of Bangladesh. Continue to coordinate and engage with the international community, including the local diplomatic community, UN agencies and regional bodies to better coordinate humanitarian aid and participation in political and diplomatic dialogue with the government of Myanmar. Ladies and gentlemen, the Commission strongly believes that the international community must play a vital role in addressing this ongoing crisis. As we have the Kofi Annan report to guide us, it has recommendations and very specific actions suggested to the government of Myanmar and the international community at large. Let me take this opportunity to put forward some of the recommendations from the Commission to the international community. We call upon the international community to take immediate steps to end atrocities of Myanmar security forces and Rakhine Muslims. Continue to provide humanitarian aid in a coordinated manner. Immediately undertake fact-finding mission to investigate alleged human rights violations and crimes against humanity committed against the Rohingya. Advocate to establish a buffer zone within the territory of Myanmar under the guidance of UN agencies. Continue to lobby with the government of Myanmar to find a durable and sustainable solution to address the ongoing crisis and if needed initiate discussions on trade and economic sanctions to be imposed on the government of Myanmar. Continue to advocate for the rights of the Rohingya refugees indulging the right to return to and their citizenship. Support to safeguards rights of the host community, paying heed to the longer-term impact this crisis has on environment of Bangladesh. Support immediate implementation of the Kofi Annan report phase by phase. Ladies and gentlemen, let us sincerely hope our efforts and deliberations will be fruitful in seeking justice. Allow me to leave with you a piece of my own thoughts. Human dignity and respect is very fabric of human rights. Each one of us as a member of humanity must continue to weave this fabric to make it stronger so human rights will not fall through its loops. Let us all speak, insist and demand justice to uphold human rights for all, everywhere and equally. So thank you very much for allowing me, Mr. Chairperson. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming here to give testimony before the Tribunal. I have one question before giving the floor to my colleagues. So this, one of the objectives of the People's Tribunal is also to give recommendations to different bodies, either international or regional or even local or other countries. So it is very clear what should be said to the government of Myanmar regarding the need to stop what is happening, but as you are there, you have the possibility to do the fact-finding missions, and you are living the situation in Bangladesh. So it would be quite important for the Tribunal if you could give us, if you have think about some ideas about how, if the situation continues, how the international community or regional organizations or even other countries could help Bangladesh in managing the situation in the meantime the situation continues.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. Yes, as I mentioned, but if you want me to elaborate it to some extent, that we have urged the international community to take up the matter with Myanmar government. So, and how to do that? So what do you think that first of all, we also asked our government to take it bilaterally. So, and government has taken it bilaterally, but it's not working at that length. This is very right, you all know. So that's why we'll continue our bilateral negotiation with Myanmar government. That is what we want, that the government should continue its bilateral negotiation. At the same time, we all should ask the international community to bring it to the notice of UN, so that UN can play a certain role. So UN can, I mentioned in my that UN, some of the states can impose some economic sanction even, and Maldives has already taken an economic sanction. It has already disconnected its trade relationship. So some more countries can come up. So because we'll have to create pressure on Myanmar from different sources. That is something very important. And if it does not work, then the Security Council can also think that how this matter can be taken to the court, international court, that can also be. So it can be taken to International Court of Justice, and or maybe International Court of Criminals. So that is what the Security Council can think that is what they can do. So that we will be going on keeping our pressure on the Security Council. So apart from our bilateral negotiation with Myanmar.
Okay, thank you. Anyone? Any questions?
Thanks very much for coming, and it's a very powerful video. I congratulate you on the work that you're doing. I've heard some reports, and they may be fake news, but I heard some reports that Myanmar planes were violating your territory. And I was wondering if you could comment on that and say why you thought they were doing that. If in fact they were doing it.
Thank you. Yes. Myanmar, there was a report like that, and that was fact that Myanmar helicopter crossed the boundary. So then and then the Bangladesh government called the acting High Ambassador of Myanmar and gave its very strong statement that it must be stopped. So it has been so Myanmar has been told in that in a very strong and in a tough way that must be stopped. So what is diplomatically should be done, that has been done from Bangladesh government side. Thank you.
Fine, thank you. I was just wondering if well, the intention of the military, I mean, there could be various explanations, just an accident, they were chasing someone, or it's a further indication of their intention to harass and intimidate and psychologically torture the refugees. Could you comment on that?
So that's what I understand, that I'm not a diplomat, but what I understand that. So the first step is diplomatical step is that to tell them that you should stop it. It must not occur anymore. So let us see that whether they would do it again. But it is very right then that it may be to create some sort of threat on the Myanmar people who was just living beside the border. So because the helicopter came just near the border, so it didn't come inside it did not come in the center of the country. So it's in the border. So maybe something like that, I don't know what they thought.
You mentioned that in the last recent influx of 400,000, there are about 230,000 children. It must be a very hard job to have to handle that without parents and so on. How are you managing that?
So that's very good. That's a very important issue you have raised. That yes, the peculiar unique thing is this, that the people who have crossed the border, more than, as I mentioned, the 230,000, more than 50% are the children, and the rest there are a very good number of elderly people and women. So we don't know what happened about the people who are between 15 to 40 years. So because we heard from the persecuted people of Myanmar nationals, I mean the Rohingyas, so that they attacked the houses in the night and started shooting, and the target was the young people. So we don't know. According to some statistics, that 3,000 people have been so far killed, but we don't know the exact number. So we don't know the exact number, but it is very peculiar that the young people are proportionately young people are less, but the children and the elderly people and the women are more. So the ratio doesn't go like other things. So this is something to be think, that what happened to those people? Why these middle-aged people are lesser in number? And the children, what we are doing that, last evening I was also sharing with the UNICEF country head. So UNICEF is also, we requested them, and they have taken their plan that so far we have formed 36 medical teams comprising of government staff, nurses, and international, some of the international INGOs staff, and some of the civil society staff, paramedics. So they are trying to handle this thing, but in comparison to the necessity, it is very low, so insufficient. So that's why we urge the international community and the other NGOs, so if they want to come, they can contact the government, they can come and they can extend support. And UNICEF is also trying in this regard, particularly for the children, as you mentioned. And so they are also collecting, they also need funds, so they will have to arrange it from other sources. So they are trying their best. And again, I will be meeting with the UN people. I'll go back by tomorrow, and day after tomorrow I'll be meeting with the UNICEF country chief, so to discuss these issues. And government also in touch with them.
Yeah, you mentioned that you also. Sorry.
No, it is.
You mentioned that you also submitting and approaching ASEAN Secretariat.
Yeah.
And could you please elaborate further what is the response of the ASEAN Secretariat?
So, we wrote, we from our National Human Rights Commission, I wrote letter to the Secretary General ASEAN, and also ICHA, so the Human Rights Organization of the ASEAN countries, and also OSCE Secretary General. So we wrote this letter on the 6th or 7th, right? 7th of this month. So far we haven't received any responses, but we will be pursuing it with them again by explaining them, because that was our first letter. But it doesn't mean that we will be waiting for that. Again, we will write to them. And today I had a meeting with Myanmar National Human Rights Commission chairman and the commissioners. So today I had a meeting with, just before coming here, I had a meeting with the Malaysian Human Rights Commission chairman and the other commissioners. So since Malaysia, as I mentioned in my documentary, that Malaysia is a powerful member in the ASEAN group, and Myanmar, Malaysia has also expressed his interest to extend support to these people. So I discussed with them that very soon we'll be organizing, we'll be consulting the ASEAN Secretariat, and probably and ISA chair. So I have also written to ISA chair. So maybe in next month we'll be visiting Jakarta to meet the ISA chair, and there will be in November there will be ASEAN summit, and we'll try to bring it to the ASEAN summit through ISA. And we also requested the ISA Malaysia to convey our message that so that we can also attend. Not being a member, even we can also attend as an observer, and we can present it before ISA so that they can take up the matter with ASEAN Secretariat. So this way we are trying to go, because we are not a government organization, so we can go to a state, we cannot go to the government directly. So we'll have to go through our PRs, like the Human Rights Commission. That is what we are trying.
Anyone else? Yes? Helen?
Thank you so much, first of all, for coming all this way to testify to us. This is very, very important. And secondly, of course, or maybe firstly, I should say, for the support given to the people on the ground. That's the first thing. Secondly, to talk to us about. You mentioned, sorry, it's not so much. Is that better? You mentioned the possibility of some sort of judicial protest or filing some sort of a case possibly with either the International Court of Justice or the International Criminal Court. And that was also mentioned in the video, as I recall, that maybe your statement at Cox's Bazaar last week. And I was wondering if you could say just a little more about those options. When you spoke to us, you referred to it as referring through the Security Council. Is that the only avenue that you see, or do you see other avenues for any direct cases to be filed?
So far, I know the procedure for if we start with International Court of Justice. So far, we know that the both parties, because there is no complainant and no respondent, right? So both are applicants. So both parties should go together. So what I think that the government should take up the matter with Myanmar government, so that both and this is only a state who can go to the International Court of Justice, only a state. So we have expressed our views that the government can take up these views, they can discuss with the Myanmar government whether both together can go to the International Court of Justice. And if it doesn't happen at all, because the chances, we are not sure that Myanmar, the attitude is still now, we are observing also. So even in that case, what can be done, that we think that the UN organ like UNICEF, UNHCR, these organizations, UNDP, these organizations can take up the matter, they can refer the matter to International Court of Justice for their advisory opinions. So that's why our intention is to take up the matter with all these international agencies, so that, and these international agencies are quite cooperative, they are very much interested, from human rights perspective, they are very much interested to support this persecuted people living in Bangladesh, persecuted Rohingyas living in Bangladesh. So we want to convince them so that they can also refer the case to any one of them can refer the case to International Court of Justice for advisory opinion. And if the advisory opinion comes, although it's not mandatory for Myanmar government, but we believe that that can create some sort of pressure on Myanmar government, so that at on a stage they come to some sort of compromise. And since the Kofi Annan Commission, the Kofi Annan Foundation was requested by the State Councillor of Myanmar, and she formed this, she requested and she formed this commission. So this is the responsible to obey the report of this commission, Kofi Annan Commission's report. So that this is, I believe that the Kofi Annan Commission's report is also some sort of pressure on Myanmar government, because it was formed by them. So it's their obligation to honor the recommendation of the Kofi Annan report. We just want that if Kofi Annan Commission report is implemented properly, then the many of our expectation, I mean the Rohingyas' expectation can be fulfilled through this, through the implementation of this report.
Could I also ask you to elaborate a little more on the issue of other economic or other sanctions? You mentioned in particular Maldives, and perhaps you could tell us a little more. I personally had not heard this before, that it has been cut off. Could you explain exactly the formation or formulation of that? And also the question of military assistance. Have you highlighted that aspect?
So about the sanction, I can see that, I can tell you that there was a voice like that, and we have seen that the EU Parliament in Brussels, they have already taken a decision that they are thinking of imposing some sort of sanctions. This is where it was there. So this is an advancement. So what we see that this time, because the Myanmar government is going on persecuting these people since 1978, even before that. You can see even after 48, so 1948. So they are going, but this time the global community is much more conscious. So they have acted more promptly. So this is the time, we think that this is the time to resolve this problem, to go for a durable solution of this persecuted Rohingyas perspective once for all. So that's why we are taking that, we are saying that, and let's see that on the other side, the voice is there, ASEAN countries, ASEAN are there. So on the other country, or the other regional organizations think that what they can do. And even the global committee, UN can also think that whether some sort of this type of pressure. This is not for any other reason, only to create pressure on them so that they come in a table to discuss.
Okay, so thank you very much for all are you doing with the situation of the refugees in Bangladesh, for coming here to give testimony before the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, thank you very much, thank you, the distinguished jurists. Thank you very much, thank you. Thank you.
Do we have other testimonies for today? Yes.
We do, but we would ask now to take a momentary break so that we can switch off the live stream before proceeding for the rest of the day, because everything else will be held in camera in this courtroom.
Perfect. So just be sure it will be switched off.
Absolutely.
No.